So you've already heard from our other team of experts at the Weissman Center. Now it's time to hear from our other team, made up of individuals with Down syndrome and their family members. This year we have another terrific lineup for you. And as I mentioned, I'll be co-moderating this discussion along with Kelly. We also have some people, as you've seen in the chat, ready to answer questions. So now let's turn it over to the folks you really want to hear from. So I'm happy to welcome each of our panelists to our virtual stage. And I'll introduce each of you. And then if you want to just maybe give a quick hi, restate your name, and then just, quick, something about you, letting us kind of know your connection to Down syndrome in the community. So first, we have Elizabeth Paul.
Okay, go ahead. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Paul from Verona, Wisconsin, and I'm super happy to be here.
All right, thank you. And who's there with you, Elizabeth?
My mom.
I'm Debbie Paul. I'm Elizabeth's mom.
Okay, all right, thank you. Next on my list, we have Finn Erickson and sister Lila.
You know what, Finn will be right back. I'm his mom, and he'll be right here. Sorry.
All right, maybe we'll come back to him.
All right, come back to us.
Sure. Next on my list is Maya Gringas and sister Jenna.
Hi everybody, I'm Maya. This is my sister Jenna. I go to Madison College and I'm a junior. Hi. Hey.
Hi. Thank you. Next up is Erin McKenna.
Did you say Erin McKenna?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I'm Erin McKenna. I am a mother of a 7-year-old who has a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism. And I currently live in California, but I grew up in Wisconsin and attended UW. And so that's kind of my connection to the GGs in Madison. Just for a little background about us and where our perspective on Down syndrome is, we are a bilingual family. And we use the AAC device. I'm using my experience with my son to kind of start my own little company to create resources for families to help with language acquisition and learning. And it's so that's just something that, part of my whole package here.
Great, thank you. Last on my list is Lynn Maringer.
Hi, everyone. I'm your grandparent representative this morning. My husband and I have 5 little boy grandsons, and 2 of them are 10, 2 are 7, and 1 is 5. And our little guy Nolan is one of the 7-year-olds. And so to answer any questions you have for me.
All right, thank you. And then we'll go back to Finn. Looks like we have him here. Hi, Finn.
Say your name.
Hi, my name is Finn.
How old are you?
11.
All right, thanks, Finn. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate the introductions then for being here. You guys are one of the big reasons we're all here. So we want to hear from you. And now I'm going to pass it back over to Kelly and we'll get into these questions.
Alyssa, the first question's for you. How did you receive that Finn had Down syndrome?
I think it was a little unusual for us. He was 6 weeks premature and he was in the NICU, and every day we would go back and they would share the list of tests they had done to see what they thought was going on with him. And on the sort of last day he was there, they said it was a Friday afternoon at like 4 o'clock, and they said, we're going to test him for Down syndrome. And so then we, were nervous all weekend, didn't know. And then they sent us home on Monday and called us. And the doctor who called me said, we really didn't think he had Down syndrome, or we wouldn't have, sent you home. We would have told you in person and that sort of thing. So I think at that point we really kind of knew anyway. But it was, sort of an unusual way to learn that news.
All right, I'll take the next question then. So this one is for Jenna and Lila, the 2 sisters. So I guess we'll let Lila go first, maybe.
Or Jenna can go first.
Okay, sure. What is it like having a sister or brother with Down syndrome?
It's honestly been like she's kind of my inspiration. Like she's like a role model, and like I see her accomplishing all these things, and it's kind of just like she inspires me to do what she does and live the life that is a role model for everyone else.
That's what they wanted to know. Sorry, Lila's not here.
Oh, no problem.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So Lila's not hopping on, Melissa?
She hopefully will be here shortly.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry. Okay.
Well, Finn, I've got a question for you, buddy. What are your favorite things to do?
My favorite thing to do is about weightlifting.
Weightlifting. That's awesome.
Wow.
What are some of the other things you do? Swim.
Swim.
You like to travel.
I like to travel.
All different kinds of things. I love. Thanks for sharing, bud.
You're welcome.
All right, next question is for Elizabeth. So we know you are graduating from school, you have a couple jobs, you're a very busy person.
Yep.
So, whether it's from school or your jobs or different social functions, do you have people in your life that you consider close friends? And if so, would you like to tell us about them? What are some of the things you guys do together?
Okay. Well, I like to have like high school call because I have high school friends that I go to high school with.
That used to go to high school.
That used to go to high school with me.
That still call you and hang out.
Yeah, they still call me and do that.
What do you do? Where do you go?
I go to a play with them, movies, and out to dinner.
Sounds pretty nice. Can I come next time?
Yeah, maybe.
And over there, sister.
Hello. Maybe let's real quick go back to that previous question then, since we have you now. So the question for you, Lila, was, what's it like having a brother with Down syndrome?
Yeah.
Well, it's not normal, but my life would be different, but I wouldn't want it any other way because he's my best friend.
That's great. Thank you. All right, Kelly.
All right, Erin, this is you. So knowing that you and Ramari use an AAC, what's one thing about your family's experience with communication strategies that you would like to share with everyone else?
Okay. Yeah, so for Raymare, communicating was always it was very evident that was a very big challenge for him, even when he was very young. And it was interesting to hear the presentation before where they were talking a little bit about the coexistence of Down syndrome and autism, saying that impetus to communicate is a kind of a factor, because that was what was really missing for Raymare. He did not have a desire to communicate. And so even using signs was not something that it took him very long to acquire any gestures to. So, and it was interesting also just because I think there's a lot of under research on autism and Down syndrome. So even asking people at that time, it was like, no, he doesn't have autism when he was under 3 years old. But knowing that it was taking him so long to learn the signs, I had come up with this idea of how to teach him by using books, and even for myself to learn how to use the signs, because I feel like as a busy mother, it wasn't like I was able to just memorize these signs very quickly. So I wrote a series of narrative stories that incorporate the same signs over and over so that we would be able to, both of us could practice that. So that is the project that kind of started my whole direction of, I have a lot of ideas of ways to support people who have the language delays. But besides that, then we did have in our early intervention program a speech therapist, just even though she did not necessarily suspect that there was an autism component, she did give us a referral for the AAC device. So he has had the AAC device since before he turned 3. But at that age, I mean, still not really having the impetus to communicate meant that it was very difficult for us to kind of make progress with it. And even now, we use the AAC device. We're getting to a point where we have it available so that he can clarify, but that's still not necessarily his go-to way of communicating. And, I think it's been a little bit challenging to get, I mean, we've made progress. The progress is slow in terms of using the device to communicate. At this point, Raymare has words that he speaks, and that's another reason why I think sometimes people aren't sure about how much to encourage his use of the AAC device, but his speech is hard to understand and pretty limited in terms of what he would want to be able to express. So we are still working methodically with many specialists, right? We have our outside speech therapists, we have the school therapists, and all of these people are kind of coming together to give us support on how to continue to help him make progress with using the AAC device as his speech continues to develop.
I'm just going to pop in and just ask again, just to be mindful of our Spanish interpreters. So just to go a little bit slower in some of your responses. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting, Erin. We also have an AAC device, and any progress is progress, no matter how small. So, as I think everyone can attest to that. All right, so we'll move on to the next question then. This one is for Deb. So Elizabeth is out of school now. You've been through the whole gamut of that. What's one thing you would like to tell teachers and or just the school system?
Well, we were very fortunate. We actually moved to our community knowing that the school was more inclusive for kids with special needs in the Verona School District. Elizabeth was in a public school system. She was included in all her classes. She was pulled out for a few, speech therapy, OT, things like that, a little bit here and there, but overall, she was involved in the classes. I would say, I know parents have a lot on their plate. I know they've got, jobs and other things outside of taking care of a kid with special needs, but you have to stay involved. I went, when IEPs were scheduled, we went and we tried to make sure we thought of what Elizabeth needed, not for what the teachers need or what the school system needs or what mom and dad need. It was all about what Elizabeth needed in her schooling and some of those programs. We got her involved in outside activities. And like she said, some of the kids that she went to school with are still friends of hers today from high school, which we're very fortunate. So my number one thing, a parent asked earlier about repeating 4K. The more repetition that Elizabeth got with things, doing it again and again and again was so helpful for her that, we go to places in public and she remembers people's names better than I do, and it's amazing. So I think the repetition really helps our kids. And so I agree to do things again and again because she's amazing.
I would just chime in with that. Finn goes to a traditional public school, and I would say exactly what Elizabeth's mom did, staying involved and really just being clear. In our particular situation, there aren't very many students with Down syndrome, a range of special needs, obviously, but, making sure that teachers understand. And one of the things we've really worked on is trying to help them understand really the benefits. Some of the experts were talking about some of the things they excel at and the visual cues, and really helping even the teachers understand that Finn really knows much more than he can communicate back to you, and really encouraging them to recognize those strengths as much as the weaknesses, and just really helping them as much as possible understand. Gigi's has been wonderful for us, and our DSA chapter but Gigi's in particular, because the focus on what Finn can do in really helping. And I would say too, the earlier you can get started on anything, you know, and those little gains, it's a gain.
I really appreciate that, Deb and Melissa. And I guess too, if there are other panelists who really want to jump into a question, by all means, we want to hear it. So I do want to take a quick pause right now. It is about 10:30. We got going a little late, as every single webinar seems to do. So if you do, if you do need to leave right now, that's totally fine. We do appreciate you guys being here. But we do have a few more questions, and we do want to get to those for anybody who can stick around. So we hope that you can stick around, and we're gonna keep going. So thank you. I guess then Kelly, back to you.
Miss Maya, this question's for you. What has been your experience with inclusion? When have you felt included? Have you felt excluded? What's that been like for you?
So the reason why so when Corona started 2020, I decided to start the advocate committee with Judy's Playhouse, and the word inclusion is so important for the whole entire Down syndrome community here in Madison. And I'm just trying to promote that throughout my social media. And for me personally, I actually have felt included, especially at Judy's Playhouse. I felt like I was welcomed. And I feel like it's important to, have inclusion. It's important. My sister includes me in some of her daily activities. She's in high school, she's a sophomore. And I just think it's important to feel like you're included. So
Have there been times where you felt excluded?
I would say not really many times I felt like I was excluded. Probably like saying like, if someone said, you can't be a part of this because of blah, 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 blah. I don't really let it get to me that much. So I don't really care too much about being excluded. I feel like I'm more included in my life more than excluded.
Great perspective, Maya. And Jenna, how do you feel like you include Maya in your life? Like, what does that look like for you as a sister?
Kind of just like if I'm doing an activity with my friends or just going out and doing something, I always want her to come with me, or I always invite her. I like to, or if she has an event, I'll help her get ready. That's kind of a thing for us. We like to do each other's makeup and kind of just having fun together. And always.
I know Maya's a very busy lady, so she's got a lot of events.
I feel a lot more included in theater. I have done theater since I was 8. I still do it to this day, and it's one of the greatest areas where I can make so many friends and feel included in lots of activities.
That's great.
I'm just gonna pop in, Maya. We had a question through the chat, and they're wondering if you could share a little bit about your educational experience.
Sure. I can talk on my education. So my education right now, I'm a junior at Madison College. They don't treat me any different than most common students at school. So like they have DRS, Disability Resource Center, where I can go if I have any questions about my education. I would go to those people. But for someone speaking who's like 21, who's a junior in college, who's almost done, I would say my advice for whoever's listening from this webcam is education is important. And my education has not been any different. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. High school. And high school is different. So high school, they have this like IEPs. I did have speech therapy, and they don't really treat me that much different compared to most people in school. They treat me as like a common student, and that's what my education has been like for me. It's been independent, and I strive to keep being independent in my education still to this day.
Great, thank you. Next question, we're gonna finally get to Lynn. We didn't forget about you, sorry. So what are your experiences and or concerns about the transition to adulthood for your grandchild with Down syndrome?
He's such a delight, and the opportunities for individuals with Down syndrome are so much greater these days than years ago. So, you know, I just hope and pray that he is accepted, that the acceptance continues to be a greater and greater factor in our society. And, you know, as far as education, you know, the opportunities are opening up more and more, job availabilities. It's just such a difference nowadays than it was years and years ago. So I just, you know, like I said, hope and pray that things move forward from here.
And Lynn, can you remind us how old your grandchild is?
Yep. So Nolan is one of our 7-year-olds. He's in first grade at Cambridge Elementary School. And from what his parents tell us, he's totally included, you know, mainstream education and just doing great there. He's just such a delight. They all are, all five of them. They're just a little, when they get together, it's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. Great, thanks.
Elizabeth, this question's for you.
Yay.
You ready?
Yeah.
What's one thing you would like to tell other people about you or anyone with Down syndrome? What should they know about people with Down syndrome?
I'll probably say live life, have fun, and just rock it out.
Rock it out. I think that is awesome advice. Yeah.
That's great advice for everybody.
Is there any challenges that you think?
I don't know.
Okay.
Just have fun.
Yeah. She, you know,
Yeah.
we were very fortunate with our daughter. We didn't have a lot of health issues when she was younger. But she always was up for the challenge. She always wanted to be included. She always strived to be the best. So we're pretty lucky.
That's great. All right, back to you, Finn. Questions for you. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm gonna be in Culver's.
We all want to work at Culver's?
Yeah.
Culver's. Great.
Why would you want to do that?
Because I know a best friend who works at Culver's. He's in high school and he plays wrestling for the King.
Does he? How does he? Like, does he include you? What do you do with him?
We play, and his name is David from the high school because he works at Culver's.
So it sounds like you have a role model. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Melissa, this next question's for you. You guys can keep your computer unmuted. How do you respond to challenging behaviors?
You know, I think that we really had a lot of success with, I think what one of the speakers was talking about in terms of, we call it kind of the respond, don't react method. You know, really keeping that emotion out of it as much as possible. And really, most of the strategies that she talked about are things that we have used in the past. And really, I think getting in that mindset, both at school and at home, that behaviors equal communication, and really trying to understand what the goal of the, you know, the action is, you know, what's he trying to tell us? And when you have that mindset, it's just much easier to respond in a better way and then stop the behavior overall, if it's negative.
More good advice. All right, next question. Let's go back over to Maya. What activities bring you joy or satisfaction?
Ooh, that's a really good question because I never got asked this question beforehand. But I would probably say for me, what brings me joy, besides your question, I feel like I've been more involved actively in public. I'm a self-advocate for my own life as well as being an advocate here at Gigi's. Can you repeat that question
Like,
again?
what do you do?
What do I do?
Like, what's like stuff that you like to do, like activities?
So I love to write. I also love to read. I also like getting involved with like going out with friends when I can, because with the mask mandate now lifted, I can go to the mall when needed. So like, I still live my daily life every day and I still try to keep my friends. One of the friends, Elizabeth Paul, is here in this panel and me and her don't talk much, but it's so great to see your face again on this panel. So I still have some high school friends, including Elizabeth. So I try and keep my friendships in touch now since lately.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lynn, this next question's for you. What's one thing about your experience with Down syndrome that you would like to share with other people?
Well, prior to having Nolan in our life, I think that there's a certain amount of fear of maybe even of the individuals. And I don't know what there is to be afraid of or was to be afraid of, but to a certain extent, it's the comfort level, with anything, the more you're exposed to it, the less fear there is. But there's just absolutely nothing to be afraid of. These individuals are just, they're more like us than different from us. And so I think God, puts certain situations and people in your life for a reason, and it certainly has enlarged our world.
Thank you.
All right, next question back to Deb. So this question is similar to the one I gave you last time with a little twist on it. So I guess, and again, if anybody else wants to jump in afterwards, by all means, please do. So Deb, what is one thing you would like to share with other parents?
Well, I'm glad you asked this one. I forgot that was on there because I guess, for me, now that Elizabeth, she just turned 23, her biggest struggle was math. Math was just, telling time, learning money. So if you can start your kids early on that, I would definitely work on that because it's a big struggle throughout their life. And it's something that I think all of us just sometimes take for granted, and our kids, trying to think about what's next or how to make change is very difficult. So really work on that because I think it's a big benefit for them to learn that. The other thing that I've been having a really big struggle with is transportation. We talked to Elizabeth a little bit about driving, and she doesn't like the way people drive now, riding in a car. She has no desire to even get behind the wheel. So, struggling with finding, safe and reliable transportation has been a big challenge for us. But a parent just asked a question about peer interaction, because of COVID. She missed that a lot, and she did a lot of these virtual classes that Mads and Dee saw. I think she had 7 classes a week, and she just loved them. It made her day to be able to see her friends and talk to her friends. So if that parent can even do some, virtual things with other family members or other families with kids would be awesome. But I just wanted to let her know that just keep talking to your kids. I know some people thought my husband and I were crazy when we took Elizabeth as a baby grocery shopping. And every time we picked something off the shelf, we got a can of peas and we put it, and we just talked to her. And I think that verbal communication helped her learn in this modeling that the experts talked about. They learn from listening. They learn, even though you don't think they are watching everything we do. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yay.
Hey, anyone else want to give a quick word on that, or let's go to the next question?
Sure, I can talk a little bit about that. I really love hearing Deb's perspective as a parent of an older person with Down syndrome, and maybe just a little bit of advice for people who have younger kids too. One thing that I think is important to keep in mind is that we don't want to get caught up in dreams, or even to compare them with others with Down syndrome, because I think a lot of times those measurements are less meaningful than thinking about the things that they themselves are appreciating doing. let the OTs and the PTs check when they meet the traditional milestones, learning to walk, holding scissors, etc. But when we're talking and celebrating our own kids, thinking about, talking about when they learn the words to their favorite songs, for example, or in my case, when my son, we had a harmonica at home and he always tried to blow into it, but he couldn't make any sound come out. And I still remember the moment when he was able to blow into that harmonica and then he let out this little giggle. And it was just so like, he was so excited that he had been able to do this. And those are the things that it's just like, those are moments that are just so transformative. And those are the important things that we can hold dear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all on their own track, their own milestone. So. Kelly?
Erin, this one is for you as well. How have you found a balance between teaching and making corrections along the way?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I focus much more on teaching. I was just thinking about sometimes the correcting, I feel like I am doing that, like when it's happening in public, I am doing that more for the benefit of others than for him, because I know that those moments are not going to be what gets, he's not going to necessarily learn from that correcting. And it's more just to like, if he approaches a child more aggressively at a playground than what that child and the parent expects, like somehow I need to say something so that they understand that there's kind of this difference versus actually benefiting him. In terms of like how to teach and how to address, I think, address these challenging behaviors, I like to be more preemptive about how to do that by recognizing that if he's going to have those problems, coming at things in a way that he is going, it won't create that resistance for him. If he doesn't, because once he starts resisting or once he starts having difficult moments that would, maybe warrant correction, I'd rather, preempt that. So if he doesn't want to write words, how can we get him to do that in a fun way? And usually that's through like singing and I think that brings in a lot more teaching moments anyways. Way more on teaching and preempting issues, and the corrective part I think is much more minimal for us.
Thank you.
All right, I've got the last question here. It's been a terrific discussion so far. A lot of really inspirational things being talked about, I think. So I'm going to open this one up to anybody who wants to jump in. But the question is, can you share a time when you've had a difficult time in school, work, or other social functions, and how, more importantly, how you were able to overcome it?
I'm gonna jump in on that question. I did have when I was in high school, I had some difficulties being accepted into high school. And even though it has been a hard journey to go through being bullied before for my Down syndrome, I grew up to be a self-advocate, and I decided to advocate for not just myself, but for other people who may go through that still to this day. And I'm just here to make sure to say that you are accepted, you are included, even though people put you down, don't let it happen. You are confident, you are amazing. And I just want people to know that, because you are accepted the way you are for your Down syndrome, the way you're born as. And that's why I am an advocate with Judy's Playhouse Madison, because I want to be accepting, I want to be kind. And that's our mission that we want to carry.
That was terrific. Well said, Maya. We really appreciate that perspective. Does anybody else want to share a quick story?
I can share a quick story because I'm not sure if we, things that we talk about with Elizabeth. Recently, one of her favorite jobs closed their doors, COVID, not getting enough help or everything. And I thought we were going to have, a few weeks, maybe days of sadness about it. And she's like, oh, well, Mom, I'll find another one. So I don't know. It just seems like she just goes with the flow, and we're pretty lucky that way. But I understand other parents may have a lot of issues, but we've always been open with her, talking about everything every day. And if she asks the questions, even if it's a difficult one, we, openly answer it. as best as we can, honestly, and try to explain some things. So I just wanted to share that, because we're not all going to be, have all these great things happen in our life. Things happen, we lose jobs, things like that. Our kids have to face those same struggles. So just wanted to share that one.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All right. Well, unless anybody else wants to jump in quickly, I think that's a really good spot. We can end this thing. Some really inspiring things there. So I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys all had a lot of fun. Thank you again for participating, everyone on the panel and everyone for being here watching. I really do hope that you found today's talk useful and inspiring and interesting. I know I did. I love this event. So again, if you're not involved with DSAW or GG's, I do hope you're able to connect with us and see how we might be able to support you and your family. So now I will turn it back over to Teresa.
Thanks, Nick. I just think Nick and Kelly, great moderation of the panel today, and the panelists especially. Thank you. There's been so much love in the chat for everything that you guys have said. Very inspiring. Again, thank you for the partnership with Gigi's and DSAW. I hope that you guys can join us for the Iron Family movie screening on the 20th of March, which is next Sunday at 2. And I'll be sending out an email with, again, a link to all the presentations and talks from today, including the panel. So thank you all. Stay connected. And until next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.